Welcome to HNM Story Time. I'm Miss Samantha, and last time we learned a couple of stories about a guy named Peter. Remember? We learned a lot about Peter these last few months. Well, today we're back to Paul. Wait a second, his name was Saul, but now it's Paul, to show everyone, the Jews and the Gentiles, both people that always knew God and some of the ones that just found Jesus. He wants to show them that he's different, that he's changed, and he wants everyone to know who Jesus is just like he does. Our story today is called Lydia Believes in Jesus. There's Lydia and her friend, and the Bible says that there is a bunch of friends. There was a bunch of women that came together, sitting by the river, talking and hanging out, and it was kind of weird that Paul and his friends, who were guys, went up to them. You see, if they weren't friends or family, it wasn't normal for guys to just go up to girls and start talking to them, even if it was about Jesus. But we're going to read how Paul and his friends did just that. Our story is found in Acts chapter 16, verses 11 to 15. Only 5 verses. This is a pretty short story, but it's very important. Paul, who used to be called Saul, and some of his friends traveled to another city. They looked for people who loved God and wanted to learn more about him. Some women were sitting by the river. The women gathered there to pray and to talk about God, kind of like a Bible study. Paul and the others sat down with the women to talk to them about Jesus. Jesus is God's son, they said. He died and came back to life again so that you can live forever with him. One of the women there's name was Lydia. Can you guys say Lydia? Lydia. Lydia sold expensive purple cloth. That means she had lots of money, her husband was rich, and so they were very important in their town. Lydia already knew God, and she was following him as best as she knew how. But when Lydia heard what Paul and the others said, Lydia believed in Jesus. "Come and stay at my house," Lydia told Paul and his friends, and so they did. They stayed with Lydia for a couple of days. Her whole family had already believed in God, but now they believed in Jesus when they heard about him. Wow, so we can be like Lydia also. We can try our very best to love and serve God, but when someone tells us something else, something about Jesus, we can look at our Bibles and make sure it's true, and we can believe in Jesus. We can love and serve him even better. Alright, so today's verse is found in Acts. We're still in the book of Acts, chapter 16, verse 14. It says, Lydia sold expensive purple cloth. She worshiped God, and he made her willing to accept what Paul was saying. All right, let's say that verse together. Are you ready? Acts chapter 16, verse 14. Lydia sold expensive purple cloth. She worshiped God, and he made her willing to accept what Paul was saying. All right, you want to do that one more time? Let's say our verse together. Acts 16, verse 14. Lydia sold expensive purple cloth. She worshiped God, and he made her willing to accept what Paul was saying. All right, so our second story for today is also about Paul and his friend Silas. Uh-oh, they look tied up. What do you think is happening? Paul and Silas sing praise to God in jail. This looks very interesting. Let's read our story. It's found in Acts 16, verses 16 through 40. So it's another long story just like last time. So if you want to read the whole thing, talk to your mom, your dad, your grandma, your grandpa, your grown-up, and have them show it to you in their Bible or your Bible. Paul and his friend Silas were put in jail because some people were angry with them. Paul and his friend Silas were going everywhere telling people about Jesus. They were very bold in how they talked to people, and they were very bold in how they said Jesus is God's son. Remember, some people did not like that. Well, some people were so angry that they had Paul and Silas thrown in jail. They were saying, these two men are causing problems in our town. They need to be put away in jail. So Paul and his friend Silas were put in jail because some people were angry with them. The jailer put chains on their feet so they couldn't escape. But Paul and Silas were not afraid. They trusted in God so much much that Paul and Silas even sang songs and prayed to God. They were in jail. That seems like a weird time to be worshiping, but no, they trusted God, and God is still good, and they knew that God would have his way. So they were worshiping and praying to God. The other prisoners in the jail were able to hear. They listened to what Paul and Silas were saying and singing. In the middle of the night, the ground began to shake, and the walls of the jail began to crumble. There was a terrible earthquake, and all the doors of the jail came open. The chains on Paul and Silas came off. In fact, all the prisoners' chains came off. Well, when the jailer that was watching the prison heard the earthquake and heard the chains fall to the ground, he thought all the prisoners had left, that they had escaped. The jailer decided that it would be better to kill himself than be punished for losing the prisoners. But Paul cried out, "Don't hurt yourself. We're all still here." The jailer was so surprised. "Why didn't you leave?" he asked. Paul said, "Well, Jesus wanted us to tell you that he loves you. We didn't leave so you wouldn't get in trouble and you wouldn't get hurt. And we want to tell you that Jesus died for you because he loves you. And if you believe in him, you and your whole family will be saved." The jailer was so excited. He took Paul and Silas out of the jail and took them home to take care of them. He took care of their wounds, gave them band-aids, and gave them food. The jailer wanted to know everything about Jesus, and so Paul and Silas told them. Everyone in the jailer's family heard the good news about Jesus and believed in him. And then they were baptized in water. After that, some news came to the jailer's house that Paul and Silas had been released. So they were free to go, and the jailer didn't get in trouble. Wow, God is so good. He was able to protect that jailer and show him that he loved him. He didn't want him to get hurt or get in trouble, and he was still able to free Paul and Silas. Wow, God is so powerful. All right, so before we go talk to our new friends, let's learn our verse. Found in Acts chapter 16, verse 17. Around midnight, Paul and Silas were singing praises to God while the other prisoners listened. Okay, let's say it together. Are you ready? I'm going to say a small part and you're going to repeat after me. Acts 16, verse 17. Around midnight, Paul and Silas were singing praises to God while the other prisoners listened. So good, let's do it one more time. Ready? Acts 16, verse 17. Around midnight, Paul and Silas were singing praises to God while the other prisoners listened. Very nice. All right, so we have our Bible verse in our memories. We're gonna go talk to our friends. So save all those questions you have about our story. Let's go ask our friends. Are you ready? Come on, let's go. Welcome back to an HNM Story Time. I'm Miss Samantha, and we're back with our new friends, Donald the Duck and Miss Sarah.
Hi.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Good.
Good. So you guys got to hear our two super cool Bible stories today, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So we learned some new friends. One was a lady. Who knows what her name is? Lydia, and she was pretty special in her town. Lots of people knew her. She sold something. What was it?
Cloth?
Cloth. What color?
Purple.
Purple, like your shoes and your sweater, Miss Sarah.
Wow.
So in that time, when someone had the purple cloth and fabric and they made a lot of those things, it meant that they were rich. They had a ton of money. So she was pretty important in her town. What else can you tell me about that story, Donald?
So Paul went up to Lydia in the park while she was around a bunch of other women.
And that was pretty weird for that time too. You see, guys and girls didn't really talk a lot unless they're like family or super close. So they were just strangers. So the fact that Paul and his friends went up to a bunch of women, pretty weird, but remember Jesus did that too. So Paul and his friends were just being like Jesus, talking with everyone, telling them about the gospel and the good news of Jesus. The story said that Lydia believed the gospel, believed in Jesus, and what happened next?
Lydia invited the boys into her house.
That's right, and her whole family ended up getting saved and loving Jesus also. So the story of Lydia teaches us that we can have a lot of material things like money and purple cloth or anything, but when someone tells us about Jesus, it can change everything. A whole family ended up getting saved, and then they can tell their other friends, and the gospel can continue to be spread. Alright, so our second story was still about Paul, but a new friend. Do you remember his name, Donald?
Silas.
Silas. So Silas was another friend that would travel around with Peter and Paul and all of Jesus' new friends, and they would tell everyone they saw about Jesus. But where are they this time, Sarah? Did something happen?
They're in jail because some people were mad at them.
Why were they mad? What'd they do?
They talked about God.
Oh man, that seems like a theme. If you talk about Jesus, you go to jail. Kind of interesting, huh?
Yeah.
So were they scared in jail?
No,
What did they do?
they sang songs and prayed to God.
Wow, it sounds like a worship service, but in jail. Would you do that?
I wouldn't want to be in jail.
Yeah, it'd be kind of scary, huh? But remember, they trusted in Jesus and they weren't scared because they had Jesus' power to help them from being scared. And then what? Did they just stay in jail forever?
The ground started to shake in the middle of the night because there was a terrible earthquake.
Oh, that also sounds scary. Can you imagine? Because remember, the jails were kind of underground, so you just see like the whole earth shaking, the walls and the ceiling. That would be scary, but were they scared then?
No,
And then what happened? Something about the chains, right?
the chains fell off.
Whoa, so they were free. Where'd they go?
They didn't go anywhere.
Wow, why not? They were free. Isn't that what they wanted?
Yeah, but they knew the jailer would be scared.
Oh, that's right. He almost tried to kill himself. Why would he do that?
Because if you lose prisoners, the jailer would be killed.
Oh no, that's so sad. So they stayed so he wouldn't have to die. And then what did they tell him?
They told him to not hurt himself and that they're all still here.
Wow, that way they could tell him about Jesus. And then he invited them to his house, right?
Yeah,
So they probably had dinners, probably a late night snack, and him and his whole family believed in Jesus and got baptized. That's so cool. So because Paul and Silas didn't choose fear, they chose praise and worship and prayer. God set them free, but also he saved the jailer. So he didn't have to die. Him and his whole family got to know about Jesus, and now they all get to go to heaven. Isn't that wonderful?
yeah. Awesome.
All right, so if we're in Sunday school, we're gonna go color our coloring page. Did you color this, Sarah?
Yeah.
This is what she colored. Lydia believes in Jesus. See, there they are, just talking to all the women, and she's wearing pink, which is close to purple. And then she invited them to go to her house. Oh, I think Donald colored this one. So this is the Paul and Silas sing praise to God in jail coloring page. There's a little mouse again, his friends. And there they are, happy to be in jail. So if you have this coloring page right now, we're gonna go color in class. And if you don't, go ahead and send me an email and I will get you a copy. Thanks for coming to today's HNM Story Time. We'll see you later. Bye.